Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for being there. You all entered by the door. Nobody jumped on the roof. So it's good.
We were contemplating that, by the way.
Daniel wanted to do this, but too late.
It's a bit too late for that. Like. We were literally in here looking at the high ceilings, and the gentleman that is kind of organizing the space was like, yeah, we can make that work. I was like, well. Okay.
So let us welcome Daniel and Niels. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
And yeah, that's it. No need for more words.
Who are you, by the way?
I'm Christophe. I'm responsible for the cinematography with Zeiss. We are the smallest part of the whole Zeiss group. But it's, as you all know, it's probably the most interesting. So thank you very much for being here.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Hélène. I'm a director, and I'm working with Zeiss. And I'm a bit nervous because I'm always nervous, but it's going to be fine. They are chiller than me, so it's cool. So we've had the great pleasure to meet Daniel and Niels a couple of months ago, like that, just to prepare this. And I have absolutely no idea of. I had quite a few ideas about what parkour is, but I'm just slowly discovering this world, and this is part of your career and of yours too, Niels. So this is really impressive. This is a whole world to dive in. I'm this close to start it. No, I'm not. I'm not going to. It's too late. But just so that you get an idea of what those people can do if you don't, but you probably already do. Just have a quick look at a short video, and we'll explain what it's about just afterwards. It's on YouTube. Give me a second.
I have it. I can pull it out of the bag, but yeah, this is probably the last one. All right, let's try and tame this dragon one more time. Here we go! Go! That was awesome, man.
Unbelievable. Finding that.
All right. What?
Please, Daniel, can you just tell what did we just watch?
So this was all very last minute. By the way, she just asked me if she could play this video, so I was like, yeah, sure, which is awesome. But yeah, this was a project. I'm an ambassador for Rollerblade, and they had a project. They wanted to work with a guy called Danny Aldridge, who's a phenomenal inline skater, someone that I actually greatly admire as I started venturing more solidly into inline skating. And yeah, they got us together in Barcelona, and we decided we'd kind of hit it off and just go explore the city. And that was one of the locations that we kind of found, which was dying to be jumped into, because given it was a slope, you know. So yeah, that's what that is, I guess.
Yeah, and there was something about collaboration between the operator and you. People, the person behind the lens and you be in front of the lens. That was interesting to show as well.
You mean in relation to this? Yeah, I mean the guy that was actually filming, Greg, is also an inline skater. So yeah, he's been kind of involved with Rollerblade for many years, and he was the guy that was kind of operating and kind of following us around. And we were going to multiple different places and locations around the city, just looking for kind of sweet spots to bring those two worlds together, right? I think, yeah, Sammy, the marketing director, was very keen to see how parkour and rollerblading would look together. So this was around the time that I started, like, Actually, funny enough, yeah, it's around the time I started investing more into rollerblading. During this sequence, it's me just doing parkour, but for the majority of the broader YouTube video, I'm also rollerblading and kind of moving around the city with Danny, so yeah.
So you did parkour, you do parkour still today. You're Niels. Thank you, Niels.
Hey, guys. Yes, I'm a parkour athlete as well. Obviously got to interact with Daniel and transition behind the camera as well. And since 2 years also got into rollerblading and yeah, mostly assisting Daniel at the moment, knowing all his systems, all the gimbals, and obviously also operate behind the camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So let's talk about how you became an operator, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. Okay, so yeah, this is pretty much like as it said in the leaflet. It's a fly on the wall kind of project. This is kind of like a reflection of how my kind of basement in my house kind of looks. So, welcome to my basement, I guess. But yeah, so obviously speaking earlier with Zeiss and the whole kind of thing that's kind of gravitated to us being here and discussing and talking today. A lot of it's come from working in the industry as a rollerblading operator, and very rarely at the moment it seems to be the parkour operation, but mostly rollerblading. I have an ambition and a desire to kind of want to action design more. A lot of that comes from my kind of history and background in parkour. I've been a parkour athlete for over 25 years, so I've had the privilege of being involved in numerous different projects, commercials, films, which later naturally led into doing stunt doubling and stuff like this. But it's always been an ambition to kind of look at seeing in between work how I can create a space where I can more freely focus on the ideas that I want to bring to life, in hopes that I can look for the path of least resistance to arriving at a place where I can be more creatively involved in the process rather than just the operator that turns up on the job. I know that I have more to offer. So at that time, I'd been in collaboration with Zeiss, and we've been speaking back and forth, and they kindly sent over some of the lenses. And we'd kind of had this spontaneous kind of project. We went over to Geneva, and I have a friend there, a parkour athlete, phenomenal mover. And yeah, we decided to meet up. And yeah, there was no real plan. I think it was just, we meet together creatively, try and see if we can, location scout. And we found a location, and not long after, we started kind of thinking more creatively about what it is we could do in the sequence. And during that time, as I was kind of trying to think of creative ideas, we were in discussions, and I kind of presented kind of what I'd had, which we'll show at some point later during the talk. No, it's okay. So I'd shared, and yeah, you guys suggested that the fly on the wall, for it to just be very vulnerable and very kind of transparent, and like we're at the very early stages, of this project. And I was like, "You sure? Do we want? Maybe we should try and finish it." But they were very keen to just to dive in, but I also respect that. I think being able to show the creative process really, really early on is an essential thing, not only to encourage other operators and like-minded individuals, but yeah. So that's kind of how we ended up here. Yeah. Let's play. Sure. Yeah.
We'll have a word about stunt camera crew.
Yeah.
After that.
Okay.
Could you guys please play the first video, the real one? The real.
Right, here we go.
Okay.
Action cinematography looks to be entering into a more explorative and expressive arena. Not every kind of camera movement requires proximity or lived experience, but when physical expression becomes central to the story, perspective matters. In those moments, the audience shouldn't simply see the action as observers. They should feel it, guided by the intuition and awareness of those who bridge the space between performance and frame. Daniel Ilabaca-an, a parkour practitioner with over 25 years of experience, has spent his career exploring that space, first in front of the lens as a performer, understanding the nuances of movement in relationship with the camera, and now as the operator who guides the frame. His in-depth understanding of movement is opening up the space to redefine how action is both captured and shared within the cinematic experience. Rooted in parkour, inline skating, martial arts and stunt work, Daniel brings a fresh, intuitive perspective. A perspective shaped by years of studying how the body moves through and interacts with the environment. On set, where the window of opportunity is often narrow, it's become an ongoing practice to explore how movement and equipment work as one. Finding new ways to move more freely with the camera has become central to Daniel's craft. As the philosophy of parkour states, the art of reading one's environment and moving from point A to point B as efficiently as possible requires the use of flow, not force, finding understanding through adaptation as the way to overcome. For Daniel, efficiency is what unlocks greater freedom within a structured framework. Amidst the numerous variables happening on a film set, this mindset allows him to position the camera where story and energy converge in real time, adapting instinctively as each scene unfolds, where multiple factors demand the operator's intuitive insight. These experiences have shaped Daniel's perspective on how movement, performance, and technology can merge more strongly to serve the scene. This vision would later give rise to the formation of stunt camera crew. This focus continues to drive the company's evolution, supporting natural movement and expanding on how future camera operators can consider navigating the film set. Daniel and his team are actively exploring how the latest camera and support technologies are evolving to better adapt to the demands of the scene and to move with the same freedom as the people who operate them. In a more recent collaboration with Zeiss, Daniel and the crew are exploring how the design and characteristics of the Zeiss Nano Primes can support new ways of enhancing their workflow. Welcome to a journey in motion, a window into the process from design to completion, where we continue to explore what it means to equip for versatility.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So if you,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, very short word about what is stunt camera crew.
What is stunt camera crew?
Yeah, and then I'd like you to elaborate on what you have to say about body language.
Body language in respect to the okay. So I suppose stunt camera crew is a mix of people from movement backgrounds, I guess. I think rollerblading and parkour is a core kind of, I suppose, asset to have in the shifting productions that are happening today, and so I think I think we kind of borrow from parkour, which is about, like as I said here, getting from A to B as efficiently as possible. It's trying to find more efficient solutions on set that just help to keep the flow of set going. So I suppose applying those principles from parkour and trying to encapsulate it into, I suppose, the essence of what stunt camera crew is, and obviously combined with that is trying to look for new ways to utilize the camera. Obviously there's a lot of traditional camera systems, and so I think it's looking for ways to offer new solutions to problems that can often arise on film sets. So hopefully that explains what stunt camera crew is, I guess. I thought, should I, I'm gonna, as I said, it's very fly on the wall, I think I'm gonna kind of veer off very briefly into kind of just a background story. And then see if we can kind of land the plane with everyone on board. And then, go from there. But basically, I'm just going to read just for this first section, just here, and then obviously let it flow more naturally afterwards. I started in front of the camera as a movement artist, realizing early on that language, that movement is a language in itself. And then, there's a reason why they call it a body language. And there's a movie that comes to mind. I don't know, as I was thinking last night, I kind of wrote this up just before we would kind of engage in conversation. And I was reminded of this movie scene in the film Troy, starring Brad Pitt. And there was a scene where you had this huge guy on the battlefield, and he's like taunting, Achilles and stuff. And what we're invited to see as the viewers and to witness is the controlled momentum, how someone can, and their posture basically. and how momentum, you know, it's very reflective even in parkour. Momentum is such a important aspect of how we interpret space. But yeah, I just thought that scene was really powerful. I've often used it as a reference for example, in parkour. There's a parkour guy called Toby Seeger, who's part of a parkour group called Stora. They're quite well known globally. And Toby moves with this, it's hard to describe, he moves with such confidence, so within himself. I was saying to Helen earlier today that the moment he takes the first step, you can determine that he's already achieved what he set out to do. And I think that's probably what lends back to the whole reference of Troy, is that we know as we're watching the story and the character that the man, as big as he is, he's a dead man, basically. And that Achilles is triumphant in that moment. Another example would be that I would like to borrow from is like the Gladiator reference. Like obviously Gladiator is an incredible movie starring Russell Crowe. But there's one specific kind of scene that really sticks out to me, and it's the moment just before he goes into the arena, you know, and he's standing there at the gates, you know, the first time in the Colosseum, and there's a guy standing next to him, and the guy's like trembling, ends up like peeing himself and stuff, and we as the viewers, we watch and we realize that one man's coming out of that place and the guy next to him isn't, and so it goes to show that, you know, again, the body language and everything that I do, whether it's with the camera, it's all focused on how to better portray the body language. And so that for me is like a really good example. Where are we?
When you said something to me about not being very good with words when you were a kid, right?
Sure.
And you made something out of this, actually.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, at school, I wasn't really good at, you know, articulating myself properly. I was very physically expressive, but I wasn't able to put into words the kind of inner reality. However, whenever I was out in the streets, you know, I think my mother could see quite early on that I came to life when I moved, so she encouraged that, and let me see, my head's all over the place. There's one reference that I want to bring up. Like, as a kid, we used to go out on the streets and we bought these ninja costumes. I've written it here as like bringing the theatre to the streets. As a kid, again, I was a very physically expressive kid. Didn't fit into the mold. One example I'd want to bring up is that when I was a kid, we'd go out at night time in ninja suits, and it quickly became a part. Like there's no intention to scare people, but at times it would often happen. And what I started to realize from behind the mask, I'm like wearing these black clothes and stuff, and I'm like 14 years old, just like sitting on a wall. You know, this guy that I remember specifically, this one guy on his way back to his car, he like got terrified when he saw me. Twice my age, and I'd known him like in and around the neighborhood, and you know, during the day, you know, he was quite an intimidating guy, but when I was behind the mask, it was complete flip reversal, and that kind of taught me it just taught me something really valuable. There's something I wanted to bring up. Again, I don't know if it flows right, but there was a guy called Spring-Heeled Jack back in the 1800s who was like notorious for. He had quite a reputation. He used to jump out and scare people, and you know. One of the things that I find quite interesting about Spring-Heeled Jack is the mystery that surrounded this character, because no one actually knew who he was. Even to this day, it remains a mystery. Like if you look at the image, it bears somewhat resemblance to like V for Vendetta. This is an actual character, but he was overshadowed by like Jack the Ripper for obvious reasons. But yeah, so I drew a lot of kind of Are you good? I draw from this guy. One second. I suppose I'll just keep to what I wrote. Physical peak. How does it bear relevance?
Yeah, this thing about bringing theatre to the street, right?
Yeah.
We told that. What is it about with the heel jack, with the spring-heeled jack?
Yeah.
Is he inspiring you? Is it about the way to impress people, the way to, is it a mystery that fascinates you
that was,
about him?
Yeah, sure, yeah. So obviously I'd shared earlier on about the struggle to communicate. I said, like, I personally reached a place in the physical peak of my career where at that physical peak, it actually felt quite lonely. However, it was during that time that I realized the importance of being able to articulate myself clearly, which I'm not doing a good job of right now. Rather than remaining a mystery, like Spring-Heeled Jack, there you go, that's where the reference is. Rather than remaining a mystery to the observer, I realized the importance of being relatable. The thing that I once struggled with, which was speaking, had now become the stimulus that would propel me forward, even to the point of being on the stage communicating with you guys.
And so movement became your way of expressing yourself.
Yeah, movement became it was a language, but what I suppose the point I'm trying to make is that I'd reached a point of physical success, but at that place, I still didn't feel like I'd arrived at a place where I was content in life. Mm-hmm. And I suppose like the point I was trying to make from what I said there is that like to be able to convey yourself. I don't know if I mentioned it. 1 second. 1 sec. I reach a physical. Oh, it's on the other side. There we go. Jeez, that makes sense. I'm like thinking, have I lost my mind here? What's going on? So it says, as in the real, if parkour is getting from A to B using the body, then communication with words is a way to arrive there together. And I think, like, obviously when we're creating movies, we're trying to bring the audience along with us for the journey. That's basically what I kind of finish up saying there. So that actually began my career. Obviously parkour opened up a lot of opportunities for me. I used to travel to London quite regularly to parkour gatherings, and I started hearing about the auditions for music videos and then commercials and like-minded people getting the job. And so that started kind of being the place of stimulus and curiosity. I would start to try and audition for stuff. And life went on. I'd end up doing a bunch of commercials and films and stuff like this. But there's one specific part that I'd want to draw from today that kind of lends itself more strongly to how I kind of pivoted behind the camera. And so, I don't know whether we want to show the behind the scenes, but I had this opportunity many years ago. There was an audition that was coming through, and it was a 5 gum commercial. And it was the director of Iron Man. It was Jon Favreau, and DP Matthew Libatique. And so I had kind of done the audition, and it kind of got rounded up between me and one other guy. And so we were like going around different parts of England to do different auditions, and some of it was acting, which I'm horrible at. And I ended up getting the job, and
And we can show the BTS right now if you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this job specifically was quite a, yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was definitely quite a turning point for me. I definitely, like, even to this day, even though it was so many years ago that I did the commercial, I still reflect on it a lot. The more I become aware of how unique the opportunity was, it opened me up to the inner workings of how everything has developed. You know, I've worked on productions since then, and I'm usually just coming in as an operator, working on sets that have been already preconceived and created, and it's manifest, it's there, you know. But this specific opportunity was such a such a thing to draw from. I think like I'd already had a visa for the US. I was working out in LA with MTV, like for a year on a TV show. Again, as I said, I did the auditions and I got the audition. They flew me out to LA. I was in talks with John and Matthew and stuff, and then I had like 3 weeks to sit down with these course designers, and we were able to they basically just said.
You had 3 weeks prep.
Yeah, we had a lot of prep. Yeah. So I was basically able to just sit down and go, and they were like, right, what do you want to create? And I was thinking to myself, are you kidding me? This is like incredible. It's like every kid's dream. I only say that because obviously a lot of when you're doing parkour, you're interpreting the way to move through existing spaces, but it always dawns on you in the back of your mind, like, oh, I wonder if it was just like this, and I could do this, and I could try that. And for me, this opportunity was exactly that. I was able to sit down and just for my imagination to run wild and design obstacles that I'd only ever dreamt of. And then I was able to enact like various things. Obviously, I would say it was meant to be a 90-second spot, got cut down slightly. So there's a whole vast amount of footage and sequences from the obstacles that we created that didn't make the cut. But that was amazing to be able to be opened up to that world and to kind of see that creative process. And to this day, I'm still pondering that space. During the first day of production on the set, I was kind of still in a space of rehearsal, and during the first sequence, which was the really long platform where I do the wall traverse kind of thing, John and Matthew, they were talking about the shot. They had a Technicrane. They were talking about where to position the camera, and they couldn't quite make their mind up on where to put the camera for the movement that would best reflect it most dynamically. And I made a suggestion, and.
About where to put the camera, basically.
Yeah, I made a suggestion on where to put the camera, and I didn't really think much about it. We went on to shoot the sequence. The next take came along, next part of the obstacle on the set, and they were like, all right, where would we want to put the camera now? I was like, hang on a minute, what's going on, and I ended up like coming off that job just with this like pondering of like, it makes kind of sense. I've been involved in parkour for so long, just human movement, interacting with physical environment. Not even just that, parkour is one element, but because of that, you get to know people in all different mixed expressions, right? So I got the privilege of meeting people from all different walks of life in that respect. But it dawned on me that maybe I had an understanding of movement that was valuable and that was worth exploring. I'd come home from that job. I didn't really think much about it. And I think maybe a year or months had passed by or whatever, and I'd got a friend in London, shout out to Claudio, who had got an offer to do a Eurosports commercial in Ukraine, in Kiev. And he called me up and he's like, Dan, like, I can't do this job, but I know that you have like rollerblading experience. Do you fancy just doing this job? And I was like, okay, that's really interesting, yeah. So I took on the job. And I was on the ice. Little backstory: I actually did figure skating when I was like a little kid, little tiny. And then it kind of just obviously transitioned. I did aggressive inline for a while, and then I transitioned into parkour. So when I was on the ice in Ukraine, it was just like, how have I been missing out for so long? Like, why? I've been so focused on parkour all these years, and it basically rekindled this flame, not only to like see if I could get the shot, But the moment I came home, I was like, man, I'm going to buy myself a pair of inline skates, like 100%, you know. And I'd be in London quite regularly, so I'd always be like arriving at Euston Station and then going straight to Waterloo, which is like the mecca for parkour. And my way of getting there was just like on rollerblades, and so I'd be like holding onto the back of buses and like pulling off on Waterloo Bridge, and I'd go, you know, weaving through people and stuff. And that, you know, that was kind of, yeah, I suppose in with that started to then develop the fascination when I was like, I wonder if I can actually, you know, grab a camera and start doing it on the rollerblades. And at that time, my friend Will Sutton, former business partner, he, you know, was operating in London, had a red camera and stuff. And so we would meet up on a regular basis. And it's funny because we would kind of approach it the way we would with parkour. You know, we would just go out into the streets and kind of, you'd go to an environment, you'd look at it and go, all right, what can we do with this space, right? And it was kind of like that. You know, we would go out into the street, we'd have a camera this time, and then obviously paired with a pair of rollerblades. And then, yeah, we would often try and figure out, you know, what sort of action design we could create. And
yeah, actually, it's interesting the way that you, the way when you are location scouting, the way that you discover a place. I mean, there is some kind of a sensitivity that normal people, usual random people like me don't have. I mean, we were together yesterday on the location. We will be shooting some things tomorrow, and you were just talking about the texture of the spot. You know, can you just please explain to us how you look at the place that you are scouting?
I think sometimes you can kind of take it for granted. I learned quite late in life that not everyone views the world the way that you do. But one thing I've become aware of is just like through parkour, you develop like a heightened sense of awareness of texture. And you know, given the conditions that we're in right now and how cold it is outside, you know, we were assessing a spot where tomorrow we're potentially looking at exploring with the Venice and trying to see if we can collectively action design some sequences together. And so obviously the logical thing would be to do is to arrive and assess the space, and immediately we're able to just look at the wall and have this kind of foreknowledge of, okay, that, you know, it's relatively slippy, but more so, you know, it's like, it's, you know, not just from touching it with your hand and going, yeah, it's slippy, but just the familiarity of rubber between your feet and just having that, you know, connectivity. So, yeah.
Okay, so this is actually, you're telling the story about the birth of Stunt Camera Crew, how you turned from parkour to camera operating, right? So you had to discover the gear.
Sure.
Yeah. So you went into experimenting, testing gear.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. So there was a chapter. So I started to we started to kind of create these videos, and then what I started, I don't know if it's just because of the connection to the industry. Like we know lots of people within the movement industry, and obviously film is in terms of how we choose to use these tools, we can express in a similar fashion. So it was kind of natural that a lot of people that I knew in the movement world had some connection to that. But it wasn't long before I was getting calls about a sequence that I'd designed or done something with a camera that a director was interested in exploring on a commercial, or again, I can't think off the top of my head exactly what, but that would then later lead into me kind of doing a lot of commercial work, which I'm still actively doing. And so I'm now entering into this world again, coming from the back door. I didn't go down the route of learning the intricate details of cameras and everything else. I came from obviously just movement, right? So it was a world that was opening up to me, and I started to see to wonder what sort of equipment existed, right? A lot of at the time, the Movi, which I have, the Ronin 2, like a bunch of other systems of this nature. Again, Steadicam, Trinity, I'd invested a lot of money. I'd been doing these jobs. I was like, okay, I'm just going to reinvest. So I'd do this job, and then I'd put it into gear straight away. And so I'd have these tools, and then I'd just be left kind of going, how can I do that? Okay, this is not useful for me. I'll take it apart and I'll adapt this on, and then now I feel a bit more, loose. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of it. Naturally, I became aware of, obviously, what's available, but at the same time, just feeling sort of like the gear wasn't quite there to be best suited for the sort of stuff that I felt like I wanted to introduce or to bring into the craft, basically. And so I just made it my ambition to, look for ways to create and, gear and stuff. Yeah.
So you've also been now developing your own gear and
Sure.
designing your own jackets and rigs and everything, so
Sure.
that you can.
I mean, there is a step here about the previs. Like, I don't know if it's worth. Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
Let's
sure.
talk about the previous. Sorry.
Sure. No, not a problem. Not a problem. So yeah, I mean, I started to kind of work more in films. A lot of I have friends that are second unit directors and a lot of people that I've respected from the film industry that are all to this day heavily involved. I had an opportunity on working on a number of different movies. One of which I at the time I was doing previs for. There was a fight director called Liang. He's the guy that fights Tom Cruise in the bathroom scene in Mission Impossible. Chinese guy. Absolutely incredible man to kind of watch work and the fight direct. And his right-hand man, Andy Lister, who's also a phenomenal artist that comes from a wushu background. And so I was brought in to do the previs for part of the film. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to bring all my gear. I was brought in, to be part of the stunt team, but I brought my Movi, I brought a ton of gear. And so once they kind of realized that I had this equipment, they brought me on to main unit to operate not only the scenes that I was helping to action design, but I was actually there with the camera doing it. And it was on that job that I kind of, again, it just further strengthened the realization that the tools don't necessarily exist. I mean, I don't know whether we want to share. We could share the video. Yeah. So there was a sequence we were action designing. I think it was on Aladnia film set. All good. Yeah. So this is again in early stages. We have a guy. I can't remember the guy's name actually. I feel really bad, but so yeah, we were just kind of getting a sense of what the motion looks like. Okay, we get the idea of that. We'd block out the movement for the guy that gets tackled. We got that in place with the soft set, which is on the floor. And then what we would do is we'd then look for a way to kind of integrate the camera. So blocking, tack. This is me jumping down, landing, coming around. Again, this is all just still kind of rehearsal related stuff, but gives you a bit of an insight. Now this is it, blocking it together, all three of us, right? Yeah. So just a side note, what you see there, the soft set, like the whole of, maybe I don't have the authority to say that, it's okay. But yeah, so what I noticed on this is that funny enough, I used the previous generation of the RS, I think it was the RS3 at the time. It had just come out, and I had the Komodo and stuff set up there. We ended up shooting with the Alexa Mini LF on the Movi, and there's so many variables involved in that process. And it was great. I think, there's obviously various limitations. I'm hooked up on a cable as I'm dropping over the ledge. But I'm also holding like close to 15, 20 kg in my hands. So trying to land upright is, quite difficult. But again, just coming off the back of that, I'm still kind of on this journey. And I think, again, just want to lend back to the fly on the wall thing. And the reason why I'm willing to entertain this is because I want to be very transparent. I'm still at a very experimental stage. I'm still trying to figure out, obviously we have the 4D. That's actually probably the natural progression to go into that. But, when I had the 4D on this film set, actually, it was 3 months before release. DJI sent the gimbal over to me, and when I was looking, I was like, this is really fascinating. But I quickly fell in love with the algorithm, the gimbal algorithms, and it's just the way that it would kind of handle itself. But at that time, it was very unfamiliar. So, there was a movie I was working on not long after that film that you'd just seen, and there was a whole ice skating sequence. And I believe they opted for the Sony A7S III with I think it was the RS3 gimbal. And I had the RS4. I had this camera, the Ronin 4D with me, and I was like, but what about this? And they were like, maybe not. But yeah, obviously, looking at stuff like adolescence and stuff, it's definitely been able to shed light on, it's obviously then it was a late bloomer. I don't know whether it was probably because of the ProRes RAW issues that they had with Red at the time, that the campaign kind of flopped and stuff. but it slowly gained traction, and as of more recently, it's become, quite a favorable solution. Again, the series Silo, Adolescence. Yeah, sorry, yeah. So I have like basically what I have here is I love this system. Obviously, a lot of the time you would have it on the fourth axis, which is quite unique in itself. I think it definitely serves a purpose. I don't know if there's like a reference or like a video we could show of like it has like, when it's in its 4D mode, depending on how you use it, it has this very bolt-like characteristics. I don't know whether we can pull that up. In Paris, yeah. So there was a video we shot in Paris. Again, it was actually for the launch for the Ronin 4D. We had 10 days of like, to try and figure out a location and shooting and stuff. Sadly, it was 8 days of rain. So this is just a little window into the behind the scenes. But the clip that comes next, you kind of see kind of more of its characteristics. It explains why I fell in love with the camera. So, yeah. So again, for me, it has a bolt kind of characteristic, I suppose.
Can you please explain about what you call a bolt characteristic?
Well, does anyone know what the bolt arm is? The little mechanical. It's kind of like a handheld version of that, in my opinion. And again, the fourth axis it just kind of softens it out and complements that whole thing. Could we even go back to that for a second as well? Like, this is me just like running downstairs, right? Like, yeah, no worries. Yeah. Maybe we could skip halfway, or we can let it go, I guess. Yeah. I just love that. I love the tack, boom, pull, wrap around. I'm dropping here onto the floor. Wrap around to his front, whip back around, pull back on ourselves. Yeah. And this one, like, this is me just running, the camera's looking back behind me. I'm kind of just, yeah. So it's this kind of operating system is starting, for me, it's become the closest thing that can kind of, I have so much to offer from the movement background and the history that I have over 25 years of doing parkour. But it's still like, again, I still operate the Movi. I still operate a lot of the bigger cameras. And, I do love it. I think it's important to have a good sensor and some good lenses. But I think when in terms of what it says during the reel kind of opening, when, the perspective matters, right? Like that, it makes a whole lot of difference if there's a synergy with the movements as well. So, yeah, so I kind of expanded on this a little bit more. I developed a cage. This is the flex mode. So technically this would go onto my back. And yeah, I developed this cage. Like from the moment I got the 4D, the flex, which is kind of like a mini Rialto cable. Yeah, when I first got the camera, the flex wasn't around, and I was speaking to DJI, and I was like, it'd be really cool if you could take the gimbal off and just have the gimbal in your hand. Lo and behold, half a year later or however long, this thing came out. So straight away, I was like absolutely in love, and I got straight to work on designing this cage, which I call polarity cage, because it can be all directions. I suppose it's kind of good for grips as well. But yeah, I love it. I personally love it underslung. I find it, especially, we have like the RS4 here. Again, I love the Movi. The algorithms of the Movi is amazing. But I've been in many situations where the director's like, all right, now I want you to whip. And I'm like, I can't go that fast. So like, I've been trying to find like this is what it is. It's just a big experiment, right? You guys are invited into that process, I suppose. And that's, I'm also just curious about the Q&A, like what sort of discussions that can be had. And I think that's something I've been really looking forward to. But yeah, right now I'm experimenting. Again, I've balanced the Alexa 35 on the RS4. I find that the RS4 has better stability underslung. So what I did is I'll put this back. You okay? Yeah, you can take it off. So what I did is I adapted the Movi handles, classic Movi handles. There's a company called Ignite Digi, shout out to Tom from Ignite, based in Tasmania. They create a lot of really cool accessories unique accessories for camera systems. They developed this kind of bridge plate between the classic handles and the RS4. And so, yeah, like even to this day, a lot of what I'm doing is actively just trying to find ways to solve problems. And that's where the gear innovation comes from. So, yeah.
So you got you have one of your jackets here as well, I guess.
Yes. Oh, you mean like for the...
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now, I mean, I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Focus Pocus or Focus Pocus. I could be wrong. Manufacturing. Someone can correct me if you know what I'm talking about. But they're based in Estonia, and they develop backpacks. Maybe I can actually put this on. Why not? So yeah, it's kind of a slim backpack. It's the most favorable I've found so far because it enables the camera to be closer to the body. Oh, geez, which way around am I now? There we go. Jeez, am I upside down? There we go. We figured it out. So yeah, this is kind of it in this mode, you know. I'm like super free to just kind of move around and do parkour, you know. You know, there's like we were contemplating earlier on, should we try and like bring an obstacle in and then like jump over it? But they were like, yeah, that's not going to work. So, but yeah, so we were, you know, for example, I could quite easily clear this table. I could clear the nagranie, you know. It's like it opens up a whole new world of possibilities. And again, it's still a place I'm exploring. But yeah, this is shout out to Sim, I believe. Yeah, Sim, who designed the backpack. There's other versions of it as well. Right now, I didn't bring the other plate with me just because I couldn't really afford to bring a whole ton of gear. So we ended up using an AC plate that he created, which usually has just like power solutions on the front. We have like a Venice, a version for the Rialto system. And I suppose we'll be kind of dabbling and playing around with that tomorrow at some point, paired with this guy. I have the wooden camera cage for the system, which is also going to be adapted to here. I think tomorrow we're going to be stripping off the red. We only have this as it is right now. If anyone's got any questions and stuff, we only have it as it is right now, just for the sake of what we're leading into and stuff, so that you can kind of look at it afterwards. But tomorrow we'll have this guy kind of set up on the system, and we'll be all creatively figuring out stuff together. So yeah, cool. Where are we?
I want to have a word about the stabili, and that was...
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, can you reference the name? It's always good to kind of mention the people that created it.
Yeah, you were talking about Dave Fries and Paul Legal, right?
The guys that founded the Stabili, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, Stabili was used on 1917, I believe, for the kind of whole one-er sequence, except for it was like a two-man job. They have a smaller version called the Stabili Nano. I tried very hard to get it, but it's constantly in use. It's a very small system. Often flies mostly red-related cameras, but I've heard a lot of praise of this setup. And again, it kind of aligns itself closely to what I was showing to you before with the 4D. It's compact, it's small, and so yeah, I wanted to kind of give a shout out to those guys who are. Again, this thing is constantly being hired out. Like there's never a moment where it's not in use, and sadly, it's not something you can buy. So, yeah.
The idea is actually that you are always looking for ways to keep the camera to wear the camera as well as you hold it. Actually, if you have it on your body, it moves like your body does.
Sure, exactly, yeah. I mean, I think the closest I can get currently to reflecting that is the Ronin 4D, and I think the Venice is a great solution as well. And again, I'm very keen on using this Rialto Mini. When I saw the Rialto Mini came out and I saw it on an RS4 or RS3, I was like, yes, come on. So yeah, I'm kind of a huge fan of that because again, it just enables me to offer more. You know, I'm not knocking obviously a lot of the traditional stuff. You know, I still do. That's still my breadwinner. That, you know, the job that I do when I'm working on commercials or films. But I'm definitely, for me, where my stimulus is definitely in the direction of like, yeah, looking for new solutions. Yeah. But that being said, there was like this concept. So in between, shout out to my wife, by the way. You're an amazing woman. Thank you so much for. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, Paula, thank you so much for looking after our 3 crazy little girls over the last couple of weeks as I've been trying to prepare for this talk. It's enough handling 3 little monkeys. Now I've got to handle 200, so thank you for that, my darling. Where are we? Yeah, so in the midst of all the craziness, my kids are upstairs jumping around. I very quickly drafted this idea, which I wanted to share. I think that I want to kind of just see if I can plant a seed, even if I'm not around in years to come to witness it. I would like to at least, see if it's something that can spark. Is it the little concept art, little?
Oh, yeah. You mean the Venice 3? Yeah. Give me a
Call it
second.
the Venice 3 combatant.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
here.
All good. Again, don't knock it. Right, it's my artwork. But there we go. It's a slim version. You can use your imagination, but that's kind of what I've got in my head. There you go.
Is anyone from Sony here? No, actually, we talked to them we showed them that, and they say, well, no, the market is not big enough. So, guys, if ever you show some interest, maybe someday it will exist.
Yeah.
I would love you to expand a little bit on, the thrill that we have when we go see a movie, and we kind of know as a viewer that part of the pleasure, part of the physical pleasure that we have watching a movie is knowing that people actually made it.
Yes. Yeah,
right. Yeah. And you have also a method. One of your jobs is also to film yourself as you are shooting.
Yeah.
And it's really a very interesting point. You also have your BTS always with you when you show footage. Let us show. No, actually, I can show it later. Yeah.
Try to find these notes are all over the place. I'm like, goodness, shit.
Yeah, we were talking about that because we almost have a way to counter AI here. We can't counter AI, obviously, it's here anyway, but the fact that you are always showing the behind the scenes,
see if I can find it.
It is something that you don't have in AI. The behind the scenes of AI is only the prompt.
Sure.
So let me show just very quickly.
That's the one. Cool. Yes, we're getting there. I found the right page. It's like printed on both sides.
We will tell you what it's about, but I love that on the left
it's
side
a little
you
premature.
You have the footage, and on the right side you have what's happening.
Ouais, vous êtes où? Ouais, je sais pas, il y a un truc dingue. Il y a un putain de vaisseau qui arrive, je sais pas. Ok, bougez pas. J'arrive.
Hairy arm, thank you.
So yeah, I think it is a good thing to bring up the reference of AI as like I wrote here in a time of AI. Again, I'm not against that. I'm sure it has its uses, right? And I can't really wrap my head around it, so I'm not involved in that stage, I guess. But in a time of AI, it's important to point out that our lives are stories, right? People are looking for authenticity, both in front of the camera and behind. The audience appreciate effort, sweat, hard work because it's relatable.
So how do you do that? How do you do that? Are you wearing a phone on yourself? How do you do that?
Yeah, it was just very quick. We kind of put both of our phones in our chest pouch, which is one of these guys.
And you also have...
Oh, sorry, yeah. I thought you
it's prepared.
Yeah, so we have like usually a lot of the time I'll kind of, just because again, it's very rare that I get the opportunity to do a lot of the things that I'm doing. There was, again, during the reel, there was like this ramp drop, from a sequence that was shot in Mexico recently for, a big commercial. And they only had like 2 chances to get it and 2 cars that they could actually practically crush. So it was like, why not, strap, it's not going to happen again. We'll strap on a camera. So we got a 8K 10-bit, it's from Kandao. And yeah, I'm just looking for kind of ways to rig it on myself, whether it's on a backpack or on the system. But again, it creates another added dimension. I think, it's quite obvious. A lot of movies nowadays, even adolescents, for example, I'm sure it has its reasons for being as big as it is and having the reputation that it does, with all the choreography and everything involved. But part of what gives honor to that is the leading up to the series is the sharing ahead of time of the behind the scenes and the process and how things were developed that helped to generate momentum and interest. And again, people, I don't know if it's just the men in the room, but I can sit there watching a guy making a wooden table and just be like fixated, But I think we naturally love to see the creative process, and we're starting to see that more and more in movies, whether it's F1 and we're starting to see more and more showing what's happening behind the camera to invite the audience into the passion of those that are wielding the camera, those that are in the different departments, everyone that is collaboratively working together to tell a story. And I think, BTS is a great way of doing that, which is why I've embraced it. Funny enough, it was doing this that actually led to me getting work, funny enough. I think we were among the first to start doing split screen on Instagram. And at that time, Stunt Camera Crew, Instagram blew up, and that's where a lot of the work came from. But it was showing hand in hand what we were filming along with what was going on behind the camera. And again, that kind of further kind of just pivots back to the whole AI thing. I think the world, in a world where things are so hard to figure out nowadays, I think people are looking for authenticity, and people appreciate the hard work and the sweat and the dedication that goes into creating something. And so, for example, I've got notes here of Jackie Chan, right? Like everybody knows who Jackie Chan in the stunt world. He's highly regarded and well respected, and there's a lot of people that have contributed to movies as a result of what Jackie Chan established. But what's amazing about a lot of his films is not only do you get to enjoy it, on your sofa or in the theater, but afterwards you're always given that added bonus, which we were secretly all waiting for, which was the behind the scenes, to be able to sit there and watch how he did it, And so big shout out to Jackie Chan for that. So,
can you explain us what were we watching actually? The guy in the stairs and you filming him?
Sure.
What is that?
Okay, so that now kind of pivots back to what I'd kind of briefly tapped on at the start. And the reason why this conversation started is that, this kind of comes more closely to the Geneva project, right? What should I don't know if there's... let's just, Okay, so there's some more behind the scenes.
Another camera filming the same shoot.
Vous êtes où? Allô? Oh.
So, can you please tell us what is that?
What is that? Okay.
What is that?
Yeah, so again, as I said earlier on, this was the location that we found in Geneva. And I think what I've tried to do is, the ambition that I have is to try and get more into action directing. And obviously I have the job that I have, and I love it, and I love kind of helping someone else to fulfill their vision. But I also want to kind of get more strongly involved rather than just being an operator and someone trying to figure out solutions. I want to offer solutions from a standpoint of how the characters or the actors move through the space and interact with the space, whether it's helping with choreography or again how the camera's kind of integrated into that setting. So I kind of postured myself over this last month and took it upon myself to kind of do what I would used to do when I used to do parkour. I'd go out and train and discover things. And so I briefly created a narrative. I kind of created like a restriction, so I only gave myself like a 40-second window, even though there's like meat on either side of this story and context and stuff. And then we kind of looked for a way to integrate the camera to better showcase kind of how things can be interpreted. But yeah, so maybe I can give, I don't know if it's worth bringing up the reference for, So yeah, I basically just kind of drafted. It's kind of inspired by the War of the Worlds opening scene. There's like where the the ship thing comes out of the ground, and there's like stillness, and everyone's kind of wondering what's going on. And then all of a sudden, everyone freaks out and there's mass panic. So I created this scenario. I don't really convey it here. It's more just talking about the kind of look and the feel of it. Funny enough, this is actually, I suppose, what started the whole ball rolling with me being here today. Yeah, and so we, wait 1 second. Yeah, so maybe I can just describe it. The idea that I had in my head was like, there's this guy who's kind of in a university, and we hear like commotion and stuff, and everyone's kind of in the canteen looking at the TV, and to disbelief, there's this huge kind of ship, kind of alien craft kind of thing in the sky. To which he calls his loved one, and he's speaking. And she's like, meet me here, da da da. And then so as he then rushes to his bike, gets on his bike, and yeah, I don't know whether it's worth just going from there and sharing. You want to show the reel? Okay, yeah, why not? Yeah. And then maybe I can talk about it on the back end, kind of just to give a bit more context, I guess. Yeah.
Can you please, guys, play the Geneva project video?
So yeah, we're caught in the middle of a scene. I tried to give myself the constraint, and yeah.
Get out of the way!
Vous êtes où? Ouais, je sais pas, il y a un trou de taille. Il y a un putain de vaisseau qui arrive, je sais pas. Mec, bougez pas. J'arrive. Ok.
There we go. Sick. All right, let's call it. So that's the most detailed previs you'll with, yeah. Yeah. So, like as I said, like coming here, like it's a very vulnerable thing, right? I'm kind of letting you into a window of my headspace and kind of where I'm at currently, and I suppose the hope is, I'm super keen to talk during the Q&A and to kind of see what questions have been sparked out of this. But yeah, that's kind of just a little window into the process, and kind of where we're at.
Let me show the short BTS video again, that they have seen the finished product. Let me do that well. Just show that. This one again.
A lot of the time, this is the stuff that just doesn't really get seen, right? Like, you're not really, this is not the end result. Everyone's so focused on the end result that,
handing the camera over to Niels.
Yeah.
And now.
One thing, I have my, So one thing we wanted to try and do, which I was saying to Niels as well, is like, I think it's important to, I think it's important to be able to kind of showcase, if you don't reveal where you just came from, it kind of, the magic isn't there, like, if I'm just looking at the wall the whole time, you don't see the staircase. And I think that's kind of part of what kind of makes people wonder how it was done, And I'm sure there's numerous films where, movie magic, where people have kind of created that, right? That impression. So yeah, when we're kind of action designing, you don't know there are stairs here. It's only until we turn around here and there's a bit of a gimbal shake. That's just due to the algorithms of the gimbal. So we ended up having to just kind of deal with that and put an explosion in. That's just the reality of the gimbal not being super strong. But again, you reveal the staircase, and then as we come around here, we see the staircase again. And I suppose, I feel like it's really important to be able to know when to kind of reveal moments in the creative process. So yeah. Oh, it says the process on his arm. Yeah.
Daniel, what about the lens?
Lenses, yes, lenses.
Finally!
Yes, we've arrived. So yeah, we were using the nano primes. I'd had them a few times, and Zeiss were very kind to kind of send them again. And it was during this period of just trying to get into that creative space of just creating my own ideas and showcasing stuff that not only did the conversation start, we used it for this sequence, but yeah, they've been phenomenal to use. I'm very grateful to Zeiss for giving us the opportunity to play around with the lenses and stuff. And
Which one is it?
yeah, this one specifically, we had the 18 on this system. And it's more so just because it's a previs, right? Like we might get a tighter field of view at some points. Like even at the earlier part of the sequence, it's quite an open expanse. I'd want to encourage you to kind of imagine like 100 extras, you know, like we tried to do that with the sound design, but I'm talking like the whole space would just be filled with people. You'd have people like falling down the stairs, people rushing, maybe a family, someone huddling a child. You know, at the top section, obviously you can kind of briefly see that he kind of falls off his bike, even though his bike's on the floor. I didn't want to break his bike, so we just laid it down and said, all right, we'll start here. But the idea is like, you know, he's hustling, and what we would do if we, you know, if we do decide to pursue this further, we would look to obviously practically do this for real, along with tying it in with the actual sequence where he vaults the gap. So yeah, there's a lot going on in the scene. But yeah, the 18 was the kind of one that we chose just to get a sense of the space. Whether we would choose a 24, it's something that we would have to later figure out. We shot yeah.
What would be the longer focal lengths that you use in your, the everyday job? Can you?
Yeah, on a full frame camera, maybe the 50, I guess, would be, the tightest we'd probably go.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we're usually more on the kind of wider side.
Do you have some kind of special strategy with shutter speed? Filming movement can be tricky on digital sensors. So do you set anything special, or is it just...
Not really, no. 25 FPS, 180, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Obviously a lot of the time I'm the guy that flipping grabs the camera and moves with it and stuff, but as much as I'm kind of wanting to explore more of the kind of DP side of stuff, and I have every intention to kind of wrap my head around it, but right now, I keep it as what I've been familiar with on the sets that I've been working on. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, guys, do you have any questions? There are questions.
Yeah, I didn't even use it. Yeah. Do I have to choose?
No, I get to choose.
Nice.
Hi. Impressive work. I can only imagine that sometimes accident happens, either broken gear or maybe hurting yourself. I was wondering if you wanted to share maybe something that happened to you and how you adapted, maybe your way of working after that incident.
Sure. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. It's worth pointing out, I've never dropped the camera, never dropped the gimbal.
Good job.
Yeah. Not yet. If you're not pushing it, you're doing something wrong. But no, I did have an experience when I was in Dubai. I was working on a shoot there. And I think one of my biggest lessons to anyone out there that's kind of operating and in these intense environments, a lot of the time there can be a lot of, the pressure on production can be quite intense. It's most important, just to kind of stay in your lane, you can be hearing information from everyone, right? And if you're trying to please everyone, you end up becoming the fall guy, quite literally. And I've been close to those moments. And so, in my career, you have to try and, you're not only navigating physical space, but you're navigating the verbal interaction. And so my encouragement has always been to stay in your lane. And I guess, as I said, in Dubai, there was a lesson of again, just trying to, there was such an intensity to what was going on that I wasn't, I let it get to me, and there was a rushed environment. I ended up kind of connecting with a lamppost. Gimbal, everything was all maintained off the ground. But yeah, I kind of took the brunt of the blow. And again, it's all part of that learning curve of learning just the synergy that is taking place on set. I think, some people can look at other people on set and be like, oh, that guy's really hard, but it's actually, it's not even that, Some people that have been in the industry for so long, they just know to keep in their lane and to do what they do good. I was on a music video once, and I think it was featured in this, in the reel, and there was a ladder, the DP wanted it moved out the way. I move the ladder. Someone came up to me, he's like, don't you move that ladder. You know, it's like, I'm so sorry. But yeah, so I think, yeah, keep in your lane is a good way to go about it. So.
How are your knees?
How are my knees?
How are you?
Completely fine, actually, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because, again, I come from a rich history of parkour. And a lot of people in the parkour world kind of know who I am, sort of thing. And there's always this mystery of why I came away from movements, and it was simply that my stimulus transitioned. I've only ever really gone with the things in the direction of things that excite me. And again, when you've been doing parkour for over 20 years, it starts to get a bit old after a while. And yeah, it went into the rollerblading, into the camera work, into figuring how to move with the camera, how to work with the camera, and so yeah.
Other questions? Yes, please. I can't picture. Just yes, over there. Everyone will have the time, I promise. Yeah.
There's 2 mics.
Hi, it's a great talk. Can you share a little bit about how you think about spontaneity versus control? Because a lot of the choreography is pretty tight, you know, with the camera and the performer, but how much do you want the performer to like improvise? Because that's also a nature of parkour, right?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because like in my career in parkour, I've come to realize that control to some degree is an illusion, right? Like you can train all as best as you want every single day, but when it really matters, your ability to adapt is what determines the outcome. And I think my life has been built on adaptation. I've spent, I quickly let go of that illusion, and I learned to. I can optionally choose to put myself into a situation. But I would be more focused on, okay, this or this outcome. But again, my mindset was always on adaptation. So, and what I'd find is because it was in that mindset, I'd more often than not be able to make the right decision rather than the wrong decision. And if the wrong decision did happen, rather than wrestling to try and not be the case, I would actually allow that to become the direction that it would go in. And that adaptation played a part. So I hope does that answer the question?
Thank you, that's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, my name is Tim. It looks like a quite intense work, and speaking about adaptation, if you could name one tool, one piece of equipment that you are looking for in today's video equipment market and you couldn't find it, what would it be?
What would it be? That's a good question. The Venice Free, yeah. The combatant. That would be incredible, yeah. I mean, obviously, like, the Ronin 40 is great, same sensor as the Inspire 3, but we all know and love, we all know the sensors that we kind of want to work with and stuff. And so I think, yeah, being able to, to have a bit of a jealousy with James Cameron, right? Because the relationship he's got with Sony. He's sitting here, he's like, yeah, we developed this rig and it's like this, and it's amazing. I have a great, admiration for the man and for that relationship. But yeah, I would love to see a Venice 3. As adaptable as and as versatile as the kind of format and body of the 40. So yeah. Hopefully, I'm still alive when that's around. There it is.
Hi. Thank you very much for your presentation. Really cool work. I was wondering. During operating, do you try to focus on the monitor, or do you try to focus on the movement and just try to point it, like intuitively point it at the movement?
Yeah, it's a bit of both actually. Yeah, I mean, in moments where it matters, I'll kind of clock the monitor and make sure we're kind of where we should be and stuff. But the majority of it is feeling and understanding the algorithms and the gimbals that we're working with, and being able to know how to position that while we're focusing on the calculated steps that we need to do. I feel like tomorrow is going to be a great opportunity to kind of dive into that question a bit more as well, to be able to see it and to talk about it and figure it out and stuff. I think it's not going to just be about like me and Niels kind of going through stuff, but we invite other people into the creative process. And, again, we're going to be using the Venice. But yeah, I hope that it's a love-hate relationship. It's a bit of both, yeah.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up question relating to the question before. would that maybe be something that you're looking for, like from a technical standpoint, the monitors? Because I've seen that with Steadicam, like monitors that like adapt to what you're looking at. Like when
it's funny you say that. Yeah, no, I do ponder like I've often wondered like how could it be integrated without looking stupid when you're on the streets and stuff. But no, it would actually lend itself very well if there was a way that where you could be kind of looking and observing at the same time just by the look. That would be absolutely incredible. As long as it fits in a way that is still the form. You know, if it's too heavy, it's like why when I can just keep it on the gimbal. But that has definitely been a thought I've had in my mind a lot over the years. Is like how could you have some sort of system that you can kind of have on your body where you're looking through, and you can literally just clock it, So yeah,
thank you very much.
Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Hi. Thank you for sharing. First of all, I assume that sometimes it's kind of tricky to describe some of this because it's really a lot of your work. I guess it's somehow like following the things that you've learned over the years during the parkour thing, and it's sometimes like intuitional. You just like go with the motion and everything, and in a world where, in like the high-end world where you are like strapped to the crane and you're jumping up the roof and everything, I guess that's like a whole different category. But in the, let's say, more accessible dimension, when you use gimbals, I personally really like when there's opportunity, which is not very often, to like really play with handheld camera and do like some like more aggressive motions, let's say. But what I found, and my experience maybe not very like high with the gimbals, it's whenever you're operating the gimbal, I feel like if you're not working with it like really often, it's like a whole different category. And to me, it is impressive to actually get the gimbal to the look of the footage, that it's not really like that it's nothing, how would I say, that you don't really see that it's on a gimbal at the first glance, let's say. So do you, is it something that it's like natural for you now because you're so used to it working with the gimbals, or is it something that you can also like predict and like prepare before the shoot?
You mean
that like for certain situations, I guess like if it's like heavier rig or lightweight rig, it would be different. But like the real skill for me is that you can actually like use the gimbal, but it's nothing that it's like seen, that it's not really a gimbal characteristics, I would say. So there's a thin line, I think, where you're operating handheld using the gimbal, but it really feels like natural movement.
Sure. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm not understanding the question, but like, I think for like the 4D, for example, there's like the M mode that you can kind of hold, so you can get that kind of natural handheld look. And the moment you let it go, you're back into kind of a gimbal mode. I suppose the transition between the two isn't most like that buttery kind of smooth when it's needed and stuff. But I'm not sure I fully, maybe I'm not sure I fully understand the question, I guess.
Just like if there's that like with your experience, is there something that you would say really makes the footage looking natural, or is it like purely the skill and the years of the experience?
Yeah, I mean, I literally just live and move. Yeah, I mean, like this is all stuff I just live and move, and I'm always constantly holding and trying to manipulate. I think I was showing earlier at the booth, right? I have like an RC car. I had the Ronin 4D on the RC car, and I was talking about like, it's cool, you can put the auto track feature on and I'm controlling the car myself. So I'm always just in a headspace where I'm like actively trying to figure things out related to gimbals and how to make that work in synergy with other ways of viewing the frame. So yeah.
I'm really sorry, I have to stop it now because we have to leave, but Daniel is not leaving. He will be here. And we have a meeting, we have an appointment tomorrow. So if you want to come, there is no booking system, just show up. You have all the info up there. We will be going downtown to make a little walkthrough with the Rialto Mini system. And we also have the Ronin 4D just for BTS. And we will be together over there outside, so have warm clothing and just show up. There is no booking, so just be there. And you have if you scan the QR code, you will find the spot on Google Maps. And that's it for today. So
And you will be at our place in the next.
Yeah,
the ones that want to continue the discussion,
sure.
just come. I think we still have some beers.
Yeah, we have plenty of beers. Let's meet at the Zeiss booth.
Daniel is obviously not drinking. That's what you mentioned. So, but yeah.
Well, yeah, no, thank you guys for your time. It's been
Thank you very much.